Something is moving closer. It has not been noticed yet. It will not miss. The calm is a lie. Beneath it, the hunt has already begun. Death comes quietly here, and it comes for the careless first. A thin line of light spreads outward and gives shape to the distant land. At this hour, the savannah is suspended between the silence of night and the movement of day. At dawn, distance feels greater because the horizon is clear and the air is still. The earliest light outlines trees, ridges, and resting herds in simple silhouettes. For a short time, the savannah belongs equally to darkness and light. The air remains cool as the first brightness touches the tops of scattered trees. Low clouds catch the earliest light and turn the horizon into a changing canvas. Shadows still dominate the ground, even as the sky begins to brighten above them. The land emerges gradually, with each minute revealing another layer of detail. The first glow settles over the plains before direct sunlight reaches the ground. Faint colours appear above the grasslands, then deepen as the morning advances. The sky brightens from below, announcing the sun long before it becomes visible. Morning begins quietly, without sudden change, as brightness slowly replaces shadow. A soft band of amber appears where the land meets the sky. During extended drought, the plains seem to contract around the few remaining resources. Hard soil reflects heat back into the air. It affects texture, scent, sound, and the behavior of the land itself. They also reveal the endurance of the species adapted to live within it. Life slows, concentrates, and waits. Rain eventually releases that stored potential. The savanna becomes a landscape of patience. Within days, pale shoots begin to soften the ground. Colour returns gradually, spreading across the plains in uneven waves. Some patches respond immediately, while others remain dormant. Footprints remain sharper where the ground has lost moisture. Brittle stems rattle in the wind instead of bending softly. The entire landscape takes on a more exposed character. The land does not recover everywhere at the same speed. Green areas become isolated and increasingly valuable. The distance between useful places grows greater. The transformation begins at the soil and moves upward. Hard seasons reveal the limits of the ecosystem. Dust becomes lighter and easier to lift. This complexity allows life to move between hardship and opportunity. Fresh growth, old stems, and bare soil may all exist within the same view. The savanna is rarely in a single condition at one time. This uneven renewal gives the grassland a layered appearance. Its many stages overlap across space. The first new growth may be almost invisible from a distance. Where one area declines, another may begin to improve. They wade to the water's edge, alert to every shadow, every sound. Thirst draws them to the water, and fear pulls them quickly away again. They drink with one eye on the plain and one ear on the wind. They dip their muzzles to drink, then lift them, watchful, dripping. They approach the water together, for alone, the edge is far too dangerous. They quench their thirst and retreat, unwilling to linger where danger gathers. They come to drink in numbers, trusting the many eyes around them. They come to the water reluctantly, and leave it gratefully and quickly. They take their fill in nervous gulps, then wheel away towards safer ground. At the water, they stand shoulder to shoulder, sharing the risk and the relief. They stand flank to flank, sharing warmth, sharing watch, sharing the day. They crowd the water's edge, thirst and fear locked in an uneasy truce. They rest their heads across each other's backs, at peace in one another's company. They hesitate at the water's edge, then drink, then hurry back to safety. They groom one another with slow care, tending the bonds that hold them together. They lean against each other, easing the loneliness of a watchful life. They nuzzle gently, the small tenderness of creatures who need one another. They crowd close in comfort, for nearness is safety, and safety is peace. They greet one another softly, muzzle to muzzle, in the old language of the herd. They stand close together, drawing quiet comfort from one another's warmth. They touch and lean and stand together, the quiet affection of the herd. They drink in nervous haste and are gone almost before they have arrived. They gather to drink and scatter to survive, and the cycle turns again. They lower their heads to the water, the most dangerous of their daily acts. Large herbivores must balance the need to feed with the need to remain aware. A change in wind direction can alter where they stand, travel, or rest. Their daily routine is shaped by thousands of small adjustments. Their world is organized by forces that are felt more often than seen. On these planes, awareness is a habit that never fully disappears. Grass height, soil condition, and the presence of other animals all influence their choices. Some areas offer rich feeding, while others are passed over almost immediately. Their size allows them to dominate space, but not to ignore the limits of the land. Every feeding ground can support only so many mouths for so long. The savanna is constantly being shaped by the movement of large bodies. Branches bend, grass is cropped, and pathways become more visible. Their presence can determine which plants thrive and which are held back. Even a resting site can become valuable to other animals later. Large herbivores are among the most influential engineers of the open plains. They keep close company, never straying far from the warmth of their own. This pattern of use and renewal is repeated across the season. For a heavy animal, unnecessary movement can be costly. Hooves and feet press seeds into the soil as the animals pass. That variety supports insects, birds, reptiles, and smaller mammals. As the herd moves on, the grass begins its slow recovery. These changes may seem small, but they accumulate over time. Efficiency is one of the hidden skills behind survival. The ability to recognize quality food helps conserve valuable energy. Each generation carries the wisdom of the last and adds its own. The world rushes, the hunters do not. Where the hunters are, the rest of the plain takes careful note. They move to a slower clock than the creatures they pursue. They teach their young the ways of survival, as they were taught before. Their presence ripples out across the plain, felt by all. The plain organizes its whole life around avoiding them. Time is the hunter's ally, and they have learned to use it well. They let time do their work, patient beyond all reckoning. They fear little, for little on the plain can challenge them. They have all the time in the world, and they know it. Time favors the patient, and the hunters are patience itself. They are the fixed point around which the plain's sphere revolves. They wait, and time delivers what haste never could. The hunters are never in a hurry, for time is always on their side. The rhythms of the plain bend to the presence of its hunters. Everything on the plain lives with one eye on the hunters. They shape the plain simply by being part of it. The hunters move through a dangerous world with almost no fear at all. Fear is a stranger to them, in a world where all else knows it well. They fear so little that the whole plain fears them instead. They walk unafraid where others tread in terror. The lives of many species are connected to the feeding habits of these giants. Nothing on the savannah exists in isolation for long. By feeding selectively, they help create a mosaic of different habitats. The hunters carry themselves as creatures with nothing to dread. The whole plain arranges itself around the presence of the hunters. The craft of the hunter is never lost, only passed on. Channels, pools, stains, and sediments all preserve part of that history. These bands of vegetation reveal past water levels. Flowing water often changes more slowly than a sealed pool. Such signs reveal events that are no longer happening. Others become increasingly isolated as evaporation continues. Water leaves evidence even after it disappears. Conditions that were safe earlier may become more difficult later. The landscape carries a visible record of expansion and contraction. Water chemistry changes as volume decreases. Old flood marks can remain on trunks, rocks and banks. debris caught in branches may show how high the water once rose. The savanna stores the memory of water in physical form. Stagnant water can warm, thicken or lose oxygen. A dry basin may still show rings of cracked mud. Pale mineral deposits can mark places where water repeatedly evaporated. Not every remaining pool offers the same quality. These minerals become more concentrated as the pool shrinks. Its colour may reflect soil from distant landscapes. Scarcity can reduce both quantity and suitability. Every river is a moving mixture of places it has passed through. Animals may have to choose between poor water and a longer journey. Brown water can carry suspended earth after heavy rain. That decision carries consequences for energy and survival. Current also brings new material from upstream. Reliable water is more valuable than water that merely exists. Movement can cool the surface and replace older water. Some sources remain fresh because they are constantly renewed. A solitary figure in the sky can appear calm while watching a wide area below. The same winds can make landing or low flight more difficult. Stillness in flight often requires careful control rather than a lack of movement. Strong winds can carry birds quickly across the landscape. Birds must respond to gusts, rising heat, and sudden changes in pressure. Flight is a continuous negotiation between gravity and moving air. Their bodies make constant adjustments that are difficult to see from a distance. Some birds face into the wind to hold their position above the ground. Clouds provide clues about the weather developing over the savanna. Falling pressure, shifting wind and darkening skies can alter their behavior. Birds may react to approaching storms before rain reaches the ground. Every tilt of the wings helps maintain direction and balance. The sky offers freedom, but it also demands energy and skill. The wind is never completely uniform across the open plains. Some seek shelter, while others continue moving ahead of the weather. Others allow the air to carry them toward a distant destination. Weather influences when birds travel and how high they fly. Calm mornings may encourage low, steady movement. Warmer hours can produce stronger rising currents. Evening often brings softer light and changing wind conditions. Each part of the day creates a different kind of sky. One may respond to the first rain, while another waits for stronger evidence of change. Shade reduces heat, but it can also limit the sunlight available for growth. Waiting can protect a plant from wasting energy after a brief and unreliable shower. The savanna preserves a wide range of solutions because conditions never repeat exactly. Rainfall during the earliest stages is especially important. Those that succeed must find enough light, moisture, and space. Others wait until rain softens the soil and improves the chance of germination. Every seed begins with limited reserves and an uncertain future. Different strategies allow different species to share the same harsh environment. Early survival determines the future shape of the woodland. Seed production also depends on weather and stored energy. Early growth can be an advantage if the rains continue. Some trees release seeds during dry, windy periods. Most will never become mature plants. Heavier seeds may fall nearby and depend on animals or flowing water for movement. Every strategy carries both opportunity and risk. The timing of leaf growth can vary even between neighboring trees. Wind can carry light seeds far beyond the parent tree. Others maintain a smaller canopy throughout the dry season. Some seedlings grow beneath the protection of older vegetation. A young seedling faces greater danger from heat than an established tree. A few dry days can be enough to end its growth. Its roots have not yet reached the deeper layers of soil. Open gaps can remain empty for years before conditions allow new trees to establish. Once roots extend deeper, the plant gains access to more stable moisture. Soft light settles over the grass, turning ordinary ground into a field of warm bronze. At this hour, scattered trees become dark monuments against the glowing sky. The sun leaves the horizon, but the story of the plains continues beneath the darkening sky. A low golden glow moves across the land and gradually fades behind the horizon. Evening spreads across the savannah as the sun begins to sink behind the distant plains. A cooler wind often arrives before the last light has fully disappeared. As the sun descends, the plains become quieter without ever becoming completely still. Across the African savanna, evening is a time of both rest and awakening. The evening sky gathers colour, while long shadows begin to connect across the ground. Sunlight clings to the tops of trees after the lower branches have fallen into shade. The savannah enters a slower rhythm as the fierce brightness of the day weakens. Another day ends as the savannah moves quietly into the night. Every object on the plains appears more defined when outlined by evening light. As temperatures fall, the air begins to move differently across the open country. The final hours of daylight reveal the broad scale of the open landscape. The final warmth of the day lingers in the soil, rocks and dry grass. The western sky glows brighter while the land below slowly loses its colour. The setting sun creates a thin line of fire along the distant edge of the world. The wild offers what the modern world cannot a silence deep enough to think in. In the silence that follows, the land seems to breathe out. And then the stillness returns, as it always does, and holds the whole world gently. The stillness settles over the land like something remembered. When all is said, only the silence remains vast and deep and kind. In the great quiet, life goes on, softly, needing no witness. The silence of the wild is older than any sound we have made. And so the land grows still, and the quiet keeps its ancient watch. What remains, in the end, is not the creature, but the wonder it left behind. There is a peace in the stillness that no words could ever hold. The hush returns, and the world settles into its timeless calm. The quiet here is not empty. It is full of everything that matters. Out here, the rush of our lives falls away, and something older takes its place.